A copy of something else is meaningless. Why? Because the original still holds all the value. The way you make transitions in a video isn't your biggest asset. The way that you click record on a camera isn't your biggest asset. The type of camera you have isn't the biggest asset. Your biggest asset is your mind and your brain and the way you think. How do we stand out as a photographer? How do we stand out as a videographer? How do we stand out in a world that's so saturated? It's simply by being uniquely you. What is going on, people of the internet? My name is Tagliaferro, but you can just call me Tags. And I'm a professional content creator who creates content for brands, companies, businesses, for myself, for my own music. I'm just a all-around creative individual who's made his living off of camera work. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about your mental, and it's something I want to continue to talk about as this channel progresses. If you're a subscriber, you know that we talk a lot about tips and tricks, maybe some things that can help you like tangibly get better at your craft. But today I want to talk about something that I feel like will impact everybody in a deeper way than simply just a camera hack or how to film a specific thing. And that is to embrace your genius, embrace your mind, and embrace what you're good at in the creative space that you live in. We live in a world of emulation and repetition, repeating things that have already been created, or maybe where we're looking at other people who've been successful, especially as creatives, and trying to recreate it in our own flavor. And it's just a lot of comparison, a lot of us looking out, and me included. I do that a lot. I feel like it's part of our nature to take inspiration a little too far and choose to create things that we know work instead of trying to find ways to make ourselves stand out via originality. And I think the reason for that is that originality is this concept that seems so far-fetched and so of God and divine intervention, like you're gonna, receive this, perfect little bubble with the perfect idea from whatever entity you believe in. And I think that comes with a lot of problems. In my opinion and in my experience, 24 years old, I'm not super old, but I'm not super young. I've lived a lot of life, been through a lot of things, and I've come to the realization that the best way to stand out, be it in social settings or in your career, is to simply be yourself. And I'm not talking about like getting vulnerable in front of the camera and simply just like being the cheesy version of being yourself. I mean, really analyzing your strengths and the things you're good at and your point of view and your perspective in life, and use that in your creation, in your creativity, in the things you do. Whether you believe in God or maybe you don't, we've all been uniquely created by a certain specific code of DNA. There's no other Brandon, if you're watching this. There's no other Jacob, if you're watching this. Like, there's no other version of you exactly like you on this planet. So I think answering the question that we've all asked as creatives as to like, how do we stand out as a photographer? How do we stand out as a videographer? How do we stand out in a world that's so saturated with those people who do the same things that we do, is simply by being uniquely you. Nobody on this planet has lived through the exact sequence of events that you've lived through. Nobody has your childhood. Nobody has your school that you went to, plus your friend group, specific friend group. This is all unique to you, and these are all very important parts of what make up how we think, which at the end of the day, that's all a camera is for. That's all a microphone is for. It's just to express your thoughts in your mind. I just want you to erase that idea that you have to be doing the things that Nike is doing, or the things that whoever your inspiration is. The thing that makes you stand out is your uniqueness and originality. And again, that doesn't come from this. You're not gonna find that on the beach in a glass bottle with a note in it with like an idea. It is simply a culmination of your thoughts that lead to action. That being said, I outlined 3 points. Number 1, when it comes to embracing your genius, it's the reminder that you're unique already. There's no need to try to find that in other successful people. When I'm talking about your flavor, the things you add, the spice, your style, whatever you want to call it, you have that already. Don't look at whatever trending video is going crazy on Instagram Reels. And there's ways to use that in your own way. Add your perspective, add your uniqueness to whatever you're creating. I obviously have so many inspirations that I look up to. I made a video about Russ, for God's sake. He's one of my favorite artists. The way I make it my own is when I go and produce, I'm not thinking of like, oh, this beat would sound cool because Russ did this in the past. I stopped thinking about that and I just started thinking about the creation of this thing. Similar to whatever craft you're in, you start with one note, Okay, with video or with writing, like I wrote this video out, you start with one line and that leads you to another, and getting immersed in that creative process is really, you can't do that if you have a reference point to be looking at, because you're not creating. Does that make sense? You're copying, or you know, it's like when you draw and you use a stencil, that's what you're doing, but it's not an actual act of creation coming out of your brain, if that makes sense. So I want to encourage you to try to, you know, maybe it's like a small exercise you do every day, like critical thinking for yourself from your experiences. Think of a topic maybe that you want to talk about. Okay, how do you think about it? Like for me, for this video, this is something I'm coming into recently, and so I wanted to share it. The fact that emulation only got me to this place, and I want to get to this place. So yeah, you're unique already. Stop trying to find uniqueness in other people, because that's not uniqueness. If your goal is to stand out, which is all of our goals, because that's how you blow up on social media or whatever, stop trying to emulate someone else who's blown up already, because they've blown up doing that already. Find your own thing. It's not that hard. You just have to look and reflect on yourself. What do you think? What is your set of beliefs? These things all make up your originality in whatever area you're creating in. Okay, that brings us to number 2, which is, okay, well, I could go be original and I could do all this really cool stuff that you're talking about, or I could just make the same stuff this guy's making with my face and my voice, and that's original in and of itself. One of my favorite creators, Casey Neistat, said it himself.
The most important thing to succeeding, whether it's in the vlog game, the YouTube game, or in the creative space at all, is this. You have to have your own thing. So if you follow this video perfectly and you make the most perfect Casey vlogs, you will have failed before you've begun. They don't want to see your Casey vlogs. They want to see your vlogs.
When you create something somebody else is doing already, you don't stand out. Because why would I click on John Marks's video where it's a vlog in New York where he talks about creativity when I know there's already the GOAT at doing that? Like, attempting to do something that someone already does brilliantly just makes you look less valuable. That's a truth. That is a truth. It makes you look, first of all, like you're kind of copying. Like, there's this one YouTuber I'm not going to name, but I just recently saw, and it was very KC inspired, and he was starting to get a little bit of buzz because he has a quirky personality, because that video is so well made. He's garnering a little bit of attention. But for that YouTuber to get to that level, the Casey Neistat, there needs to be a separator, because right now all I see him is like, oh man, he executed that perfectly, and that's cool, but like, that's not as good as Casey. So yeah, just that's something to think about. Like, when you think, you know, am I even interesting, or am I even good enough to do this? It's better than copying someone else. Whatever you have, I promise you that it's only a matter of time and a matter of attention, but eventually it will come to you, and eventually you will get found for being you, and that is so much better than getting found for copying someone else. Because imagine that's the case. Imagine you blow up because you're the guy who copies Casey Neistat in all of his videos. You know, like, you're stuck to this thing, you can never break out of it. It's just, it's trust me. In the last thing I'll say about embracing your genius and the things that you are good at and accepting yourself, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's a Bible verse somewhere. It's just facts, okay? Because comparison is why, because we are not looking at what we have. It takes away from our grateful spirit. I keep that in my banner because it's important to me. Staying grateful when it comes to creating content is so important, and something we can be grateful for is the experiences and the perspective that we currently hold. That is something to be proud of. That is something to share, to experience, because you are not allowing the world to understand your viewpoint. And in a world full of social media and TikTok where we're constantly consuming, if you are called to be a creator, if that's what you have on your heart to be and to do and to bring to the world, who are you to just emulate what everyone else is doing? You're not bringing anything to the table. And the worst part is you're not even attempting to, you know, like, the attempt is what matters. That comparison, that continuous looking to other people to make sense of what you create and to be someone similar, feel like you should deserve more credit because you kind of feel like him, that just leads you to believe that you're not enough. Because at the end of the day, when you click upload on YouTube, or you click post on Instagram, or you upload on TikTok, you're gonna know that feeling of, a small feeling of shame of like, dang, I know for a fact this isn't me. And then your identity will get a little messed up in your head, but your mental as a creative, the way you make transitions in a video isn't your biggest asset. The way that you click record on a camera isn't your biggest asset. The type of camera you have isn't the biggest asset. Your biggest asset is your mind and your brain and the way you think. And when you start understanding that and start embracing the fact that you are a genius and you have these things in your head to give and share to the world, that's when you'll start feeling a difference. The impact you're gonna have with the content you create, whether it's a commercial for a company, whether it's a painting that you want to sell, whether it's a photo that you've been thinking about creating and making. It's gonna mean something. A copy of something else is meaningless. Why? Because the original still holds all the value. This isn't to like bum you out and be like, dang, well, I could have been Casey and I'm not. That's not the point. The point is that you still have the potential to fully walk in the thing that you were uniquely created to be, to show, to share. But I really want to make this video to anybody thinking like, what if I'm not enough? What if my perspective just isn't something worth listening or watching, consuming? What if it's just not it? Well, it is. And that's kind of the point of this video. Wherever you are, if you're in Ohio or if you're in Tokyo or if you're in freaking Venezuela, like, you have a unique story to tell. And I'm just here to encourage you to not look somewhere else for a story, but look within and embrace your genius. Because the moment you do, and the moment you start seeing yourself and start creating as yourself, that'll be the moment where people start taking you serious. It's been your boy Andres Tagliaferro. It's been another video. This was different kind of video, but I do want to talk about mental health, and I want to talk about these little mental things, because again, so much of being a good, healthy, working creative has to do with your mind. Creating a space for our mind to flourish is so important. So yeah, if you like this video and you enjoyed it, you got value out of it, maybe I made you chuckle or laugh a little bit, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you want to really be a G, you'll go and share this with a friend. Embrace your genius and stop worrying about whether it's good enough or not. It is. Remember, stay grateful. Peace.